right, shall we?
I think they're waiting on it.
All right. Welcome to Talking Shop. Before we get going, subscribe. Hit that little bell. You'll get the videos when they come up. Today we are looking at, we're keep moving through Matthew 25. We did the parable of the 10 virgins last week. Today we're looking at the parable of the talents. So that is verses 14 through 30. What to do with the master's stuff? What to do with the master is probably actually a better thing, or how to think of the master.
Yeah.
So we'll be looking at that. So let's get after it.
Spit out my Lord in every way, yet I'm still welcome in the arms.
You probably noticed Ernie is still not here. We did let you know he was ill.
I have punched
Had pneumonia
and been knocked down.
covering.
For all you Greek scholars, an ailment of the spirit.
That's right. So, but he will be back with us sometime, but not today. So, Matthew 25, verses 14 through 30. This one, it doesn't start with the kingdom of heaven is like or should be compared to,
Right.
because this is the theme of the whole chapter.
Yeah.
And in chapter 25, verse 1 starts with the kingdom of heaven will be like.
Yeah. And so just it will be like, or it will be just as, tells us that we're supposed to tack in that first statement again.
Yeah, and again, that's an important thing to remember, especially with this one. This is another one where if we can easily make this parable or want to assume it's not about the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah,
but
this is your chance to preach money matters to your people.
That's right.
No, don't
do that.
stop.
That's
Listen to the
not
rest
what
of
it's
this.
about. Yeah.
Don't quit there.
So, a man going on a journey calls his servants, entrusts them with his property.
Yeah.
His stuff is what it is. And he gives them, what he's given them, it's talents. What's a talent, Matt?
A talent is a lot of money.
Big chunk of money.
It's
It
a
is.
coin, and it's like a year or so's wages. I mean, it's a bunch of it's a lot. Let's just
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
that's the easy way to say it.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. So he gives. So you got 3 servants lined up. The first one is given 5 talents. This is a lot of money.
Yep.
Big time cash. Then he gives another guy or gal. Could be gal.
Could be.
2. And then he gives the third one 1 talent.
Yes.
So all have a lot of money.
Why do they get different amounts, Paul? Why doesn't he give them all equally?
I don't know.
It says right there in the text.
What's it say? Oh, each according to their ability. That's right. I pay attention. Each according to their ability. So he entrusts them what he knows they're
capable of.
Right.
Yep.
To handle. Mm-hmm. Right. So you don't want to trust me with 5 talents.
Probably not. It would not go
that
well.
Would not go well. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be good for me.
Yeah. Well, you call me over.
We'd have a good time. It just wouldn't go well. Right. So, and then he goes away. So that's the thing. He's entrusted. He goes away. This is telling us something about the kingdom of heaven. Mm-hmm. And now we focus on these guys and what they do. The one who has 5, what's he do with them?
He takes it out and uses it. The Greek is kind of a selling language. I think we settled on traded or bartered with it. Anyway, utilizes it within the marketplace of money. I guess would be a better way to say, good way to say it.
And he ends up making doubles his money. So this is, again, we've talked about this a bunch of parables. How much fun do you want to have with the things that are not said? Because you can feel that he probably lost some money, gained some money, whatever. But in the end, he's using it. He's employing it, and he's making more money.
And out of his efforts of using those things with which he has been entrusted. He's given, he doubles the impact.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, right?
So
the second guy with 2 talents, he does exactly the same thing.
And doubles the impact.
Doubles the impact.
Yep.
And then you get the dude with one.
Yep.
And he takes a slightly different tact. He digs a hole, buries it in the hole. Now, again, you know, you could, I think in preaching this, you might be able to play a bit with why he would do this. You know, he's unsure of himself.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly the master didn't trust him with 5.
Right. Only gave him 1.
It's still a lot of money.
It's a lot. And I mean, you know, it would be, depending on what your abilities are, you might even have a track record of losing things, right? And you wouldn't want to lose what you've been given to account for it.
Yeah. So he just buries it.
Yep.
Just like put it under the mattress or whatever. We know where it is. It's safe.
Yep.
And that's what happens. So the master comes back, and then he goes to settle the accounts. He looks to see what they've done with what he gave them. And when we were translating, we were it kind of sounds like a magic trick. He's like, right? So he calls the guy with the 5 talents, and he goes, "Master, here are your 5 talents." And ta-da! I got 5 more. Right?
What's this behind your ear?
Yeah. So he's doubled it, right? And the focus here isn't so much that he doubled his stuff, but I think it's that he used it, right? It has grown, and the response of the master is kind of the focus.
Yeah.
What's he kind of getting at?
Yeah, and he's not necessarily even responding to the doubling per se. Yeah. I mean, you can. I think if you're hearing this parable for the first time and you can play with this, if you're hearing this parable for the first time, you might hear that the master is responding to the amount of the blessing, but you'll find out in the end that he's not.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, and so he says, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a little bit, so I'm going to appoint you over more." Right. And so yeah, it's.
And he enters into this interesting language of enter into the joy or the what were some of the other?
I think I might use the word favor.
Favor,
but honor.
Yeah, that's a good way.
But it's but the word is actually joy.
Yeah.
Enter into the joy of the master.
That favor, this is where you now reside with the master.
Yeah.
His favor. I like that.
Yeah, it's charis, so it's joy. But
and then he who had 2 talents comes forward, and he does the same magic trick.
Yep.
Here are your 2. Ta-da! 2 more, right?
Yep. And again, the response is the same.
Yeah.
So, and I think this is where you start to pick up on the fact that the master's response is not to the amount. The master's response is to you might say, the faithfulness of the servant. Yeah. Right. The good and faithful servant, because he responds the exact same way to this guy.
Yeah. Same invitation to come into his favor as well.
Yep.
Okay, then things take a dark turn. It's so the guy with 1 who buried it, he comes forward, and he's got a speech prepared.
Yeah. Even before that, the language is different. I noticed this when I was translating it. The language is, to the others, it was the ones who were given, right? Yeah. To this one, it's to the one who had received, and it's a perfect. So had and continues to receive or to have the one talent. Yeah. And so it's and so he comes and he has this great speech, like you said, prepared, right?
Yeah.
I know that you are a hard man, I think, is the way that it's usually translated.
Yeah, hard, severe,
severe.
Like
yep.
Yep.
We might even in a different parable, you might even say shrewd, right? I don't think it's the same word.
Right.
You can look it up. But I know that you're a master who maybe has high expectations. Maybe you could even say that. And we might say the word there, it's not necessarily I know, it's I perceive or I recognize, I understand. Gnosko is the word there.
So you're a hard man.
Yep. You go ahead.
You reap where you didn't sow.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And you gather where you didn't scatter.
Yeah, so you have others do your work, you might say. And you expect that there's going to be profits from that.
Right.
I think is the view that this servant has of his master.
And so going into verse 25, the first part of that sentence is the key one.
Yep.
So I was afraid.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
His response before his master was one only of fear. And so he takes what he was given and he just hides it.
Yeah.
And
so, in that context then, here's what is yours back.
Yeah,
right?
No
I didn't lose it.
No magic trick this time.
I didn't lose it. It's all
Right.
here.
Yeah.
Everything that was yours, I give back to you.
I give back to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The master's not happy.
He doesn't appear to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got some harsh words of
No
his own.
more good and faithful servant. Wicked and slothful servant. Wicked and lazy. You know where I reap, where I have not sown, and gather where I have not scattered seed? Question mark. You ought to have done what then at least?
Given it to somebody who could have made me money.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Given it to the bankers, and then at least I would have gotten interest.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's the...
It wouldn't have been doubled, but it would have
Right.
been something.
Yep.
Burying it in the backyard is nothing.
Yeah, if you knew my expectations were I expect something from the work that is done, then you've done nothing for me, right?
Yeah.
So
then he takes what had been given to him and he gives it to the guy who had the 10 talents.
that now has 10.
Yeah. And this line is, I think, shocking. And this is, the last two lines is where... It's where at the end, if you're reading it in church, you go, "This is the gospel of the Lord." And people are like, "Are you sure?"
Praise to you, oh
that
Christ.
That doesn't sound like gospel, right? For to everyone who has, will more be given, and he will have an abundance, right? And for the one who has not, even what he has, the Lord has is taken away, right?
Yeah.
And then he casts the servant out into the bad place.
Yep. Into the bad place, the place of weeping and gnashing of teeth. I used to have a shirt that said, weeping, wailing, gnashing of teeth. Oops, wrong exit. Great shirt.
So I don't know, you get to this point, and I think what happens in our temptation in preaching and the way it's heard is at this point, when you get down to this part, you start making this parable not about the kingdom of heaven anymore.
Yeah.
And you start making it about my personal piety, my faithfulness, instead of about describing the working of the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
And that's where this is going to go off the rails.
Right. I mean, you hear it all the time. This becomes so you better be faithful with what God has given you.
Right.
Yep. And which is interesting, because what it actually makes the hearer do is it puts the hearer into the shoes of the servant who is called wicked and slothful.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you preach it that way, this then becomes a sermon about how you must fear God and you must do His bidding, so that you can then be at the end called good and faithful.
Yeah.
When that's not the reality that is given to us at all.
Yeah.
In fact, in next week's parable, as we'll hear, those who are called good and faithful don't even know they're being such.
That's right. Yeah, very good point.
But you'll have to wait on. You'll have to join us again, subscribe, and be back with us.
Yeah. So if we keep it then in the language of a parable about the kingdom of heaven, what's this telling us about the kingdom of heaven? What's the issue?
Yeah, the issue is how you view the master who has handed things over to you.
Yeah.
And so this is a master who comes and finds the work that is being done good, and those servants already faithful or joyous about doing the work that he has been given, and he tells them, come on in and enjoy it more.
Yeah,
right?
enjoy it more. Yeah.
And to those who see the work of the kingdom as, for lack of a better term, kind of a churchy word, as legalistic, as law, as labor and toil, those are the ones who do not find joy in the kingdom here, and therefore are not going to find joy later.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and so it ends up this image of forgetting who our master was, right? And if you see him only through the legalism and through that fear lens, instead of seeing him
as the one who's given you 5 or 2 talents.
Yeah, or one. Right? That's how out of still out
and
of money,
said,
right?
see you later, enjoy.
Yeah, enjoy it,
right?
yeah. And and that you've responded with such fear only that it's crippled you, and it's now you don't see your master rightly.
Yeah.
And so he's cast out.
Yeah.
Because
if God becomes one whom we are only working for, then we have a horrible existence ahead of us.
Yes.
If God instead is the one who has given us the joy of being his stewards on this earth,
and freed us to
go out and do that however we see fit, within the framework of the master, then by all means it's going to be a glorious existence for us.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good way to end right there.
Yep.
That good stuff. Check out craftofpreaching.com. You'll definitely find a good article there on this text. Help you kind of work through it a little bit more as well. Share us with your friends. Tell everyone about us. Send some comments. We always appreciate it. And we will see you soon. God bless your preaching.